Hey everybody, I think this is working. Sorry, I'm a little late and clearly not very technology savvy. So I apologize for that, but hopefully this is working. Um, all right. So I'm just checking that it is with somebody. But it says it's live, so let's do this. It says 26 people are watching. Hey, it's great. Hopefully we get a lot more. Um, all right. Well, it truly is an honor to join with all of you tonight. I partly do not feel very qualified necessarily to be doing this, but I am definitely honored to have been asked to share a message tonight with all of you. Um, and I hope that something I share will help in some small way, especially in letting others know just, how loved you are and how much you're worth it. That really is kind of my greatest goal in life, to help every person I encounter to just know how absolutely cherished they are by heaven and that they are more than enough just as they are. It's my firm belief that there is absolutely nothing that any of us can do that will ever keep us away from the love of God. Um, and this really will be the central theme, if you will, of my message tonight. That whatever the question is, love is the answer. But before I jump into kind of the meat of that topic, I wanted to just take a little bit of time to share part of my story, because maybe sharing that background will give me a little bit more clout in speaking on a message as important as love. So forgive me for getting a little personal, but I am a strong believer that when we open up and become vulnerable in sharing with others a part of ourselves, we then extend an invitation to them to share their story. Um, and it's in those stories that we find that we find healing. It's in sharing our stories that we find that light, that to shed light on those things that have been hidden in the dark. And so I'm a strong believer that, like I said, that sharing those stories and having someone, look into your eyes and say those words that, I see you, I hear you, I feel what you're saying, and now I have a little bit of your story, and I'll hold it for you, so you don't have to hold it alone. That you don't have to face whatever it is you're facing alone. You know, that sharing of our stories and being vulnerable is why I created a whole community, a Facebook community called Brightness of Hope. And it's in that community that we believe that there are few things in the human experience that are more beautiful than two people connecting and validating each other's experiences. And, we understand that life is not easy, but my Brightness of Hope community hopes to be a place where others can find refuge and find the strength to keep going, if only just one more day at a time. And so, with all that said, here goes to sharing a little bit of my story. So, from 6 to about 12 years of age, I was repeatedly sexually abused by a male cousin who's 10 years older than me. This all came out when I was about 17, and it came out in the form of an eating disorder. I had gotten to such a low weight and was going to have to be hospitalized. My internal organs began shutting down. And so my parents were wondering what is going on. And so they took me to go see a counselor. And through that counseling, the abuse slowly came to light. And eventually I reported my abuse to the Children's Justice Center, where they arrested my cousin and they prosecuted him. Although this tragically tore apart my family, I knew that I couldn't live with myself if any other little boys were hurt because I failed to act. Um, but after all that came out and through all that process, and in the ashes, if you will, of my stolen innocence and my brokenness, I have often asked the time worn question of what if? What if I hadn't been abused? What would I be like now? Would I not have had an eating disorder? Would I not have missed out on so many opportunities in my life because of immobilizing PTSD and anxieties? Would I not have had to go through the experience of forcing myself because I felt like that's what I needed to do to get married, only to have my marriage not work out and all the pain that that caused? Would I not have same sex attraction? Believe me, I have gotten lost on that endlessly winding and never progressing road of what if. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know what I would be like without the abuse. I can't change that. What I can do is determine what I'm going to do now because of the experience. And more specifically, how will I use it to better understand and to love others? Circumstances, they don't dictate our existence. Yes, of course, they impact us and they mold us and they help us be the people we are, but they don't determine our future. We do. So, really, what if? That question of what if, it means nothing when answered with the defining question of what now? And what now is entirely up to us. And so, with that said, and with my experience shared, I wanted to take the remainder of my time tonight to talk about three key areas that I believe, well, rather, three key kind of areas of life and this world that I believe where love is the answer. At least I believe it should be. So the first one I want to talk about is when we face the darkness of depression, which I have found is often created by that ever-present shadow of self-criticism. You know, sometimes our path in life, it can feel more like we're going through a cave than it feels like we're going through a tunnel. Because you see, with a tunnel, there's a way out. There is light at the end of it. But with a cave, you just keep walking toward a dead end, growing ever darker with each passing step. Those who struggle with chronic depression, I believe, can especially identify with walking through a cave, being trapped in that gloom with no way to escape. With each passing moment, you feel more suffocated by the stale air and the stifling realization that this experience isn't going away. This is your existence. This isn't a brief sojourn through a tunnel of darkness. There's no exit waiting. There's no light at the end. For you, the darkness is a permanent fixture of your everyday reality. Sure, medication can help and therapy can do wonders, but even those are temporary flashes, flickers of light in an otherwise dark abyss. I'm certain there are many out there who identify with this and who have woken up before only to find yourself immobilized within the grasp of depression. You think, how am I ever going to face the day ahead? There's nothing to look forward to. Nobody who really understands, and nowhere that I can finally escape this feeling of hopelessness. I know I've woken up a few times too many, feeling this, laying there, unable to motivate myself to get up, suffocating in the heartache and drowning in my despair. But then a miracle happens. You get up. Somehow, some way, you get up. After everything you've been through, after everything you've done, and after everything that still lays ahead of you, you get up. I know it's not easy. I know you're exhausted and you just want the pain to go away. But I also know how strong you are because you're still here. You're still fighting, still enduring, still becoming, still standing. And so I say to you, any of you who have ever faced or still do a morning that offers no glimmer of hope, an endless cave that offers no exit, hope is just beyond the horizon. You are stronger than you think. You're braver than you know. You are more loved than you can possibly imagine. Yesterday did not define you. Today will not break you. And tomorrow need not overwhelm you. In a life of a billion seconds, take a deep breath and know that you can make it through the next one and then another until 85,400 seconds go by and another day is completed. And yes, you're still standing. Ultimately, the source, I believe, of your strength, of my strength, of all of our strength, is God's love. But what about those who may be standing, but they feel totally alone? You know, I think that in three simple words are expressed the pain that many of us have felt at one time or another. Those three words are, I am lonely. Loneliness is real. It is serious. And it's all around us. Some are lonely because they've lost a loved one. Some are lonely because they have no friends or they don't have a loved one. And some still feel completely and totally, utterly alone, even while standing in a crowd of people. So, what is this aloneness that haunts so many, that suffocates in isolation the heart and mind of the searching soul? It's all at once an uncomfortableness with self and an unfamiliarness with God. It's seclusion of thought and feeling that we each become prone to, that voice, that inner critic within that says, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough or handsome enough. I'm not loved. In our separation from heaven, we allow our remoteness from God to communicate a message that he must not care. Set upon a spinning rock with billions of people in a vast universe of billions of stars, surely he doesn't have time for us. To the uncomfortable inner critic and the unfamiliar outer doubter, enough. Your time for doubting, your time for dominating the conversation, it ends today. Your lies have run their course. Let's hear truth. You are enough. You are beautiful. You are loved. God does care, and he will always be there for you. Now, I understand that my words may still ring empty to many out there. After all, tragically, every day there are 3,000 people who commit suicide. That is one person every 30 seconds. Can we not hear their silent cries for help? Or see their undried tears? As disciples of Jesus Christ, we can do better. We must do better. To come to know those around us who suffer, because to know them is to love them. And in knowing, we and they are saved. So I ask for each of us this moment to extend more readily a life-saving hand of love. Wherever a frown is found, may we provide a smile. Wherever a tear is shed, may we offer a shoulder. Wherever a heart is broken, may we give a loving hug. It doesn't take a lot to change someone's life. Often, it's the simple things. To let them know that you care. In a world desperately searching for someone to understand them, let us be found among those who are willing to listen with unyielding compassion and love them with heavenly passion. Surely each of us can do a little bit more to save a life. The second area that I want to talk about in life, where I believe that love is the answer, is when we encounter individuals who are cruel to us. It breaks my heart to see what's happening right now throughout the United States and throughout the world. Hate in any form is still hate. Yes, without question, we should call out racism in any of its ugly forms. Yes, we should stand up for those who belittle or marginalize any person in our society. But we must do it with love, not with hate. A mob is just a mob, and a protest is just a protest until its intent is laced in love and understanding rather than hate. We have to be careful that what is condemned on one hand is not acted upon by the other. For those, any of us, who fight the suppression of a label or a category, we have to make sure that we never fall into the pattern of doing the same thing with others who we disagree with. It's easy to point the finger of blame at someone. It's a quick scapegoat to pin all of our troubles on. If only that person didn't exist, then my life would be so much better. But what is much harder is to actually have an honest and loving conversation with that person that you don't agree with, to understand what their true motive is and see the reality through a lens of love. One person did not create the problem, and one person is not the solution to our problems, unless that person is you. I have found time and again in my life that assumptions made without understanding true intent leads to heartache 100% of the time. The basis for every disagreement is this: misunderstanding and pride. The basis, you see, that like you misunderstand the motive of another person, and then you put up a defense, a wall of pride to avoid admitting that you were wrong and to justify your feelings. This is the core of any argument. So, can we just stop this incessant bickering and back and forth, this constant labeling of others as the enemy, which is stopping the fulfillment of our happiness? Because this narrative, it's false and it won't lead to solutions. We must stop from entertaining the idea that hate can be cured by more hate. Discrimination by extermination of thought, and bullying by the subjugation of the bullier. In words that still echo through time and throughout all generations, Martin Luther King Jr. instructed us in this defining moment. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So if we want to change the world, then we need to start with a message of love. Start with a smile to a stranger. Start with sitting by that person who's sitting alone. Start by focusing on what unites us rather than what divides us. Start with inclusion rather than exclusion. Start with serving rather than demanding. You want to spread a message of change? Spread this message. Hate is incapable of making a positive difference in the world. Only love can do that. And when it comes to how we should treat others, the Savior himself, Jesus Christ, was clear. Said he, love one another, no matter the circumstances that curse you, that hate you, that despitefully use you and persecute you. And no matter their reaction, whosoever shall smite you on the right cheek, turn to him the other one also. Now, this, of course, does not give others the right to take advantage of us or to abuse us in any way. But it does give us the responsibility to examine closely our actions in return. I have often heard the mantra, kill them with kindness. In practical use with aggressors, oppressors, and tormentors of every kind, I have found this to truly be the only way to kill their behavior. When an individual who says or does an unkind thing is met on the other end with a kind word or act, it completely disarms them. They don't know how to respond. Again, in frustration, they may lash out, trying to inflict the intended wound. But if we keep repeatedly meeting them with kindness, they eventually either One, slink off in defeat. Or two, start reciprocating kindness in return. It's simple math. A negative followed directly by a positive, if equal, voids the equation to zero. Nothing is lost and nothing is gained. In eternal equating, the math is a little less self-evident, but it's even more assured. A negative followed directly by a positive always, always yields a positive in the end. I have personally found this to be the case whenever I have followed this course of action. It's not easy, and it's never easy to respond in kind to someone who is saying something cruel about us or doing something horrible to us. But often the hardest things are those of greatest worth. So I hope that each of us can commit today to eradicate this world of unkind actions and unkind words and deeds as we kill them with kindness. May we choose the harder right rather than the easier wrong as we turn the other cheek. May we determine that no greater privilege and call has been given than the one spoken to all by the perfect example of kindness in opposition to hate. Love one another. The third area in life where I believe love is the answer is when we encounter individuals that are different from us. I understand what it feels like to not fit the mold and to wonder whether you have a place. It's not easy being a single chocolate chip cookie in a world seemingly made for gingerbread families. As a faithful member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and as someone who is gay, I know a little something about looking on the outside into two very different worlds. Both sides claim title to the right cookie recipe for my true identity and for the best path of happiness. One path and one recipe contains 2 tablespoons of ignored attraction, while the other prescribed one contains a teaspoon of ignored faith. In truth, for me, neither one is right. However well-intentioned or similar the situation of others may be, we can't let anyone dictate what is right for us. They aren't us. The truth is that no one has ever been you in the circumstances that you're now facing. This is your cookie, so don't let anyone else bake it. And although I have broken the cookie cutter mold of gingerbread membership in both my church and the gay community, I know my truth, and that's all that matters. And my message for each of you is to find your truth, whatever that may be. Chocolate chip, sugar, snickerdoodle, peanut butter, whatever cookie you are, be the best one you can be. You might feel lonely at times, but there will always be a place for you in my cookie cutter family. And let's think about this. Whether you think LGBT individuals are living a lie and life of sin or not is beside the point. Because the God I know welcomes all. In his mortal ministry, it was more common to find him ministering in the house of a sinner than it was to find him worshiping in the house of a saint. Now, don't get me wrong. I know well the gospel he preached and the message of commandments he gave. He espoused, go and sin no more. But in calling to those whom he loved completely as they were and desired to help them in becoming all they could be, he always did it, and he never wavered in his outreach of loving welcome. And my hope is that we likewise can strive as members of the church to create a place for those who don't fit the standard cookie cutter mold of gingerbread discipleship, where Christ entered a world that had no room for him. In stark contrast, I hope that we can make sure that there is room for all in God's church. And this goes for anybody who doesn't fit the mold of what we think a member should be. They're divorced, they have tattoos, they drink coffee, they smoke, whatever. It doesn't matter. We must do more to welcome all and make clear that there is a path for them and a place for them to belong as fully participating members. Because the fact is that perfect people, they don't exist. Some people are just better at hiding their sins than others. But one does not qualify for God's love. That simply just is, because we are. We must open our hearts to freely accept and love those who are different than us. I'm not asking that we change commandments or doctrines. We can't. I'm just simply asking that we better love those who, for whatever reason, can't perfectly live them in this life. That is sometimes not easy and does not have perfect answers. Can we please find a way to make a place for them? To create a way for them and us to remain true to the truth we know, but committed to the love we feel. It's not enough that we love the sinner but hate the sin, as so many have expressed. I hope that we can see how that could make the sinner feel when they don't feel like their love, something that comes so naturally to all of us as the breath, the air we breathe, is a sin. So what can we do? I certainly do not have all the answers. But I do know who does. And we worship him. So let's look to him. In just a few examples, I think he shows us the way forward. To the lost sheep, he left the 99 to go after the one. To his faithful apostles, in the concluding days of his mortal ministry, he gave a new commandment, second only to loving God, and that was to love one another. To the condemned thief that was dying by him on the cross, he said, "Today you shall be with me in paradise." Wherever others feel lost, let them find hope in our congregations. Wherever others feel like strangers, let them find friendship in our embrace. Wherever others feel condemned, let them find loving acceptance within our hearts. We have been told what it takes to be called Christ. If ye are not one, ye are not mine, was his words. It's time that we each take a big step forward in being one in heart, one in mind, and one in love. I see that I've gone a long time and I actually have so much more content I'd love to talk about, but I don't want to take too much more time. And I'm going to end with a song too. But I do just want to end with one other thing. I know. There are times in life when we are just about at our breaking point. Some of you might be in that time, in that moment now. And often in that moment, the only thing that we really need is someone to put their arms around us and tell us that everything is going to be okay. I wish I could do that for each of you. We don't need, there's in that moment of brokenness, we don't need any advice. We don't need solutions. We just need someone to be there and to care. I feel like our world is actually at this point in many ways. There has been too much hatred and negativity, too many angry and hurt people. Little wonder so many are asking, where can I turn for peace? The answer? It's in us. We are the love. We create the peace. So I'm begging, I'm asking, please, can we do more, each one of us, to open our hearts and freely accept those who are different than us? Can we make room for them who don't quite live up to our standards? Because it was the master teacher of love himself that said, "Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." If that isn't a commandment to love those who may be considered an enemy to our standards or way of thinking, then I don't know what is. So to each of us, wherever others feel lost, let them find home in our places of worship. Wherever others feel like strangers, let them find friendship in our loving embrace. Wherever others feel condemned, let them find loving acceptance within our hearts. No matter the problem, love is the solution. Whoever the person, love is the way. And whatever the question, love is the answer. That's the message I wanted to share with each of you tonight. And I just hope you each know how loved you are, how precious you are, how perfect you are to the God who created you. Never doubt that. Now, I was told, and I'm always nervous about this, but I was asked to share a song. And so, bear with me, I'm definitely not a professional, but I'll end tonight with singing a song. I'm going to sing "To Where You Are" by Josh Groban. The song means a lot to me. It's made me think about those who I've lost. I've lost a lot of friends and people I love to suicide, and it makes me think about them and what I would like to say to them. It also makes me think about what God would say to each of us, I think, and what we can think about as we think about Him, as we think about where He is. And He's never far away from each one of us. So, with that, I'll share this and then I'll end. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Who can say for certain? Maybe you're still here. I feel you all around me. Memories so clear. Deep in the stillness, I can hear you speak. You're still an inspiration. It be that you are mine, alive. You are watching over me from above. Fly me up to way beyond the distant shore. On tonight to see you smile. Know you're there. A breath away's not far from where you are. Are you gently sleep here inside my dreams? Make believing all power can't be seen as my heart holds just one beat away. Cherish all you gave me every day. But you are mine, and good God, watching me from up above. And I believe that angels sing, and that love will live on and never leave. Fly me up to where you are beyond the distant shore. Upon tonight to see you. Know you're there. It's not far to where you are. I know you're there. A breath away's not far to where you are.